Lee Fang of The Intercept wrote about the unfortunate thing that happens after every recent mass shooting in the United States. He says, following a mass shooting, there is talk of gun control, which the National Rifle Association and other gun advocates attack as an assault on the Second Amendment. Notably, gun and ammunition manufacturers often donate, either directly or as a portion of each sale, to the NRA. The fear of losing gun rights leads to panic buying, which brings greater profits to gun retailers, gun companies, and their investors. So we have some direct examples of this here. Ed Stack, the chief executive of Dick's Sporting Goods, a leading gun and ammunition retailer, said in September 2014, quote, "The gun business was very much accelerated based on what happened after the election and then the tragedy that happened at Sandy Hook." The CEO of Cabela's said after Sandy Hook, quote, "The business went vertical. I mean, it just went crazy. We had tailwinds of profitability." So there's this massive catch-22 that happens in the United States after every single one of these mass shootings. When you look at what happened in Australia, for example, after a mass shooting that they had in 1996, within 10 days, there was new regulations, and the people of Australia were like, totally, this is a problem. We can't have as many guns as we have in circulation. And something was done, and since then, we've had 0 mass shootings. It's the opposite in the United States. So you have people who come out after one of these mass shootings, or in the case of Orlando, both a mass shooting and a terrorist attack, and what do? They say, oh, no, wouldn't it be awesome if everybody else in the club had a gun? And then this guy would have been stopped immediately. And it's this kind of logic and this kind of reasoning that pushes us further and further down the road of gun sales going up, gun profits for the manufacturers going up, and then we have even more guns in circulation, which in turn, from the macro level, ends up ticking up gun violence. See, this is what people need to understand. There's a big difference between looking at the macro level versus the micro level. So is it true that at the micro level, if somebody busts down your door and they have a gun, that at that moment you would want to have a gun in order to, defend yourself? Absolutely, that's true. Nobody in their right mind should deny that. But what's also undeniably true is that while at the micro level, people might want a gun in that circumstance, at the macro level, it's just a fact of reality that the more guns you have in circulation, the more gun deaths there are. So, and they've done studies on this, like when people buy guns and they keep them in their house, you would think that, and the reason they do it is self-defense. I got to, defend myself, or some people for hunting reasons and whatnot, or just they practice when they go shooting or whatever at the shooting range. But just the fact that you have the gun in your house, you up your chances of dying as a result of gun violence. Whereas if you didn't have it in your house, your chances are lower of dying because of a gun. It's massively counterintuitive, but it's true. You get this gun to protect yourself from some sort of gun violence, but just the fact that you brought the gun in the house, it's much more likely that you die from an accident, for example, and it's because of the gun. And if the gun wasn't there, perhaps it wouldn't have happened. And the statistics show that overwhelmingly it wouldn't happen. So, and this is the thing that, like, other modern nations look at the U.S. and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Because for some reason, that argument that the NRA makes sticks. And people just think, well, it ain't going to be me. It ain't going to be me who's sitting there like a sitting duck when somebody comes in. So everybody goes and buys guns. And then we have more guns. And then as a result, there's more gun violence. Now, again, for people who think, well, what do this is just a theory that you're bringing up. No, look at the data, man. And don't take it from me. Take it from the Harvard meta-analysis on this. Their conclusion was, where there are more guns, there is more gun violence. So some people say, as we alluded to in a previous segment, more guns equals more peace. Well, if that were true, do you not get that the United States would already be the most safe of all the modern nations? We would already have the lowest amount of gun violence. And guess what? We don't. We have the highest gun violence in the modern world. So we have 32,000 gun deaths in total, on average, every year. Actually, now the number's a little higher. Other modern nations have about 100. It's not even close. And the main difference is we have over 300 million guns in circulation. So I need everybody to understand we have answers on this. We do. We have answers. Like, I get the catch-22 counterintuitive sense about it when there's a mass shooting. People are like, I need guns because I want to protect myself. But when everybody does that, you actually up the violence that's going to happen in the long run and the number of gun deaths that's going to happen in the long run. And you have the gun manufacturers who profit off of this, which, by the way, in a very perverse way, you've made the incentive structure now that Do gun manufacturers kind of like it from a business perspective if there is a mass shooting? Totally. And that's a sad state of affairs.